and good afternoon. We are back here with our handcrafts with Don and with our mermaid. We've been kind of trying to figure out what to do with this, with her hair, which is supposed to be this golden blonde or yellow. So I've done a little experimenting with our little friends here. So the airbrush only comes with a gold and not really a yellow, so it was kind of a problem. So you see here, this is the gold by itself on the white, which, yeah, it's kind of nice, but doesn't really have a lot of definition. So what we did was we hand painted the yellow, and then we airbrushed the gold on top, which I think gives it a quite a deep, much deeper shine and gleam to it. So I'm trying to get the sun here. Oh, well, that's too much sun maybe, but it'll give it a nice richness, I think. So the first thing we're going to have to do is take the regular kind of folk art paint that we use here. This what's it called? Craft Smart and folk art and all this other stuff, but basically, these are the regular paints that I use for the normal guys that I do. So I have some actually yellow in here from earlier. We're going to just shake it up and put some more in there. So I'm going to bring our mermaid up here. There's a couple of things to point out. She's got, of course, she's got the little shells, right? I mean, the little air bubbles there in her hair from the waves cascading over her. So they're basically up front here, and there's, I think, only 4, plus there's a shell in her hair. Of course, there's gonna be a shell in her hair. So we'll want to. Especially when we're hand painting it, we won't touch it, but then when we airbrush it, we'll try to go over it as light as possible, because then we'll have to, again, bring out the highlights of those pieces afterward. So this is going to be a little different because basically we're just covering surface with this. So we're going to go a little. We don't really have to use a real fine brush at the beginning. I still don't use a real thick brush, only because I like having more control over what I'm doing with being able to spread the paint around a little easier and make sure I get into all the nooks and crannies and things like that. So it takes a little bit longer, but not that much. And again, it allows me from going too far over or getting too far ahead of myself, as it were. This is quite a bit actually, but in this case, we're only putting, if I was just painting this with hand paints, and this would probably get 2 or even 3 coats of paint over it. I might be tempted to use a bigger, a thicker brush. But really, I think this 1 coat of yellow is really all we're going to use, because it's essentially a base coat. We don't want it to overshadow what we're doing, but instead use it to highlight the gold that will be lying on top. So one thing I also did, kind of on a side note, is I've layered our work surface with this bubble wrap. I realized when I'm doing this, what you see me doing now, turning it over and over and over and over again to get all the angles, I tend to bang it into or I have been banging it into the table. And of course, it got me thinking that my worst fear would be to chip these tips of her hair, which is probably the first thing that would break, which would be a drag of multiple proportions, massive proportions. So much so that I would actually probably have to order another one from the Netherlands, which actually took me quite a while to get the damn thing in the first place. So basically what I'm saying is we want to avoid that. So I put the bubble wrap down there. So if I am so damn clumsy and start knocking this piece into the table as I'm wont to do, I won't totally destroy it. Here I am. I already screwed up this bubble here. See, bubble right here. So. Oh, what I'm going to do is it's hard to take off, but sometimes it works. But it won't matter much because it's very light, and the sea blue that we're using to cover it should do the trick. So, and that will be a few applications. Again, the hand paints always take a few. So this is again why we're using the small paintbrush, because then we get into these situations that come up all of a sudden where it's okay if you get a little yellow and gold on the air bubbles, because honestly, you got to think again, the air bubbles are on it, so it will definitely be illuminating some of the yellow to begin with. So anyway, in other words, you can get away with it. So just keep that in mind. Again, as the blue is only being highlighted and added to it with the as spray, yeah, it can take a little of the background color pretty easily. As you'll see, we'll be blending the greens and the blues at the bottom of the figurine later on when we get to that point. But again, this goes back to my earlier video where I explained that, you know, one thing that people don't really understand is how long, oh, there's my shell, how long this stuff takes, or how much care we have to get it to what we want it to be. You know, I mean, we all have a vision of how we want our piece to look and how to achieve it. It's not always easy. In fact, it's never easy, as far as I'm concerned. For me, it takes an incredible amount of patience. It takes an incredible amount of attention to detail, which is not really an issue because I have that already and always have. But it takes an incredible amount, this work especially, of patience. And that is not what I'm known for. If you ask pretty much anyone who knows me, they will tell you that. So anyway, but this brings it out in me. If I want to do this, I have to find that level of patience. So it's kind of why I love doing this, because it more than most things gets me out of myself. It makes me concentrate on a whole different level, on a whole different plane, so to speak. Because a lot of my work, or a lot of what I do in life, is very, I do not haphazard, but quick. I'm a I'm someone who looks at something and gets it done quickly and hopefully accurately, and move on. This is not that. This is do it slowly, and then you go back and you look at it, and you go back and you look at it, and you paint it over and over and over again until it's perfect. As I said, I'm still getting used to the video, and along with that is the background music. So I don't know if it's loud enough to be noticeably pleasant. It's not loud enough for me, but I don't want it to drown out my voice, which is not booming over here anyway, so I want to make sure that I'm heard. But again, that's one of the things that I'm working on, adjustment-wise, trying to get the kind of video atmosphere that I'm trying to achieve. Can't tell what that is. That looks like a shell. We're going to say it's a shell right now. I'll make it champagne colored later on. That obviously is looking as like a pearl shell, pretty much. A pearlized shell. But yes, and if it looks boring, believe me, sometimes it is, and that's where the patience comes in, because it's so easy to try to rush this and glob on paint like I just did, and then you have to, but you have to make sure you blend it in, and you don't leave yourself with areas that you have to fix later on. So I know you're not supposed to have dead air time on these things, but you know, again, I'm new at this stuff, so that's why I'm not a radio broadcaster or making tons of money. Oh, so it's done here actually with the bulk of it. And then to get down to the drag or more difficult part. As you see, it's breaking. It's going to break off and make long tresses down her back, and in fact, it looks like she's holding some of it in her hand here. So we're actually going to take a break with this and not. Oh, I'm not totally feeling up to tackling all those tresses right this second, to tell you the truth. So at the same time, I also have to try to figure out how to airbrush all these tresses, so I'm gonna have to take a look around, which is what I always do. I always say I'm going to stop, and then I start getting involved in it, and I think, oh, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. But that is some bright hair. I don't know if you can really tell, but hold on a second, I'll put it back up there when I'm done. Okay, we're gonna take a break after we get this other part of the main completed. And then it takes a little gentle touch to go along and get in those areas. I'm just gonna have to add color to later. So, but I also like doing this because it highlights it visually for me. Makes it easier for me when I come back to it to see where everything is and where I'm at with everything, how close I am. Like we're gonna get this down here, which see the hair kind of ends here on our shoulder. So we're gonna do that area. Let's see, I might have a little problem here. Let me see. Let's try to. Let's see, there's no one. What I'm going to do is just take some of that yellow off here. I might have gone too far down her. So I'm going to take it back a little while it's still wet. I'm going to do is wet one of my brushes and paint it away kind of. And you can see this way I ended up, her tresses actually do continue, but try to get some more up here. Oh shit. I might have done too much water on that one. Let me see. Some areas that I missed, which doesn't really matter, is I'm gonna be doing the whole thing over again anyway, but I tend not to, and sometimes I tend not to leave long enough alone, which I gotta start learning how to do, so I'll at least stop when I say I'm going to stop so I can evaluate where I am. I think this is a good spot because it's not always easy to see how these designs go, so you kind of got to be careful. But anyway, you can see it very bright, very, especially compared to the. Get rid of this. Right down here. Okay. So you see the green is a lot more pastel still, and the yellow is stark. But it won't be again after you start putting the gold on there. Anyway, oh, that's a long one. I will take a break and we'll be back. Take care.